Welcome back to Sidebar. We are still talking about the current political situation and the ways out of it. I want to go to the woman representative for Lamu County, Rueda. Do you think there's a crisis that we should talk about? Oh, and by the way, the person you see on the split is Dr. Lukoya Toli, who has kindly joined us. But let me start with the Honorable MP for Lamu first. Should President Kenyatta be inaugurated and should he ignore NASA? Ama wanafaa kuzungumza Raila na Uhuru wazungumze?
Kama kiongozi, I think dialogue ni mzuri. Dialogue ni mzuri. Lakini my problem ni kwamba at what time. Manake kama ni dialogue wangefanya dialogue before waende kotini. Wameenda kotini sasa hii tumetumia pesa. Bado sina shida na dialogue, lakini naona kama ni usumbufu sana. Kwa hivyo naona tumalize hii process ya election, manake the process haijamalizika. Na dialogue kama viongozi wanaweza kukaa wakazungumza at any time.
Dr. Twoli, when
Jubilee says naona kama tunasumbuliwa. Ni kama kusema wale sisi tulipokuwa tukipigania candidate wakati wa nomination. Kuna wenzetu tunawaambia njoo tukae chini, mimi naona hivi, mimi nitashinda, wewe utaniharibia. Wakakataa dialogue. Kisha tumeenda kwa election, wameenda independent, wameshindwa, sasa wanakuja wanataka dialogue.
Okay. Dr. Twoli, when Jubilee says until this election process is ended, like President Kenyatta said in his speech, he means until he's inaugurated and then he can then negotiate as president with the Raila Odinga as another Kenyan, as a deputy president put it. What is your reaction to that?
I think the politicians need to realize that they have a political crisis on their hands. And the president is the president, even now. He doesn't have to wait until he's inaugurated for him to become a president capable of engaging in order to sort out a political crisis. He can engage at any time, and there's nothing in the law or in politics that stops him from engaging Raila and any other politician in order to solve a problem that afflicts the whole country. So the excuse that people have to wait until somebody is inaugurated and so on and so forth doesn't arise, because Uhuru Kenyatta is the president of Kenya. And he has the authority of the people of Kenya to engage. So the excuse about waiting for inauguration or waiting until the election process is over, that just doesn't wash. If they all agree that there's a problem, then there's no better time to start solving a problem than now.
The thinking from within Jubilee is that when they in fact do so, then they agree to question the legitimacy of President Kenyatta's election. And the way they see it, he was validly and legitimately elected, and they shouldn't be discussing those conditions because the election happened, they won it again. So any talk should only happen after the swearing in.
I think as far as legitimacy is concerned, it is not within the control of the politicians to determine whether their election was legitimate or not. Legitimacy is a matter of perception. If on the Jubilee side they believe the president was validly elected, so be it, that's how it is. And obviously the people on the NASA side do not think he was validly elected. And in my view, their beef would be with the IEBC that conducted the election. And therefore, whether it is legitimate or not, the president considers himself to be legitimately elected. The people perceiving his election would have their own views about that. That shouldn't stop the president from doing what a president should do, which is to engage with any and all people involved in attempting to sort out a problem that threatens to tear the fabric of this nation apart.
It's interesting
it is the role of the president to keep this country together. And if he feels like there's anything that threatens the unity of this country, anything that threatens this country being together, he must engage, whether there are perceptions that his election was illegitimate or not. Those will be sorted out in the appropriate fora. But in sorting out the political crisis that we have now, he has absolutely no excuse. If he intends to engage, then the earlier the better.
Stand by, because the Speaker of Nakuru County, do you believe that there is a crisis that Lukoya is referring to? Do you see where we are right now as a political crisis, Speaker?
One person has won and the other one has lost. So to me, there's no crisis. And therefore, as the president has said, he can bring dialogue after the inauguration, and that's the case because we need to bring these other people to unite back the country. We know this election has left this country divided. So after the inauguration, then the dialogue can take place on national healing, on reviving our economy, which has been battered so much because of the long time we have taken politicking. As you know, from last year we've just been politicking. The whole of this year we have done nothing as a country. We've just been in politics mode. So after the president is sworn in, then we can have a national dialogue where all parties are involved, where the stakeholders, the religious people, you know, the politicians, the wananchi, for us to move forward as a country. So to me, I don't see as if there's no crisis in this country.
Tomboya, what do you make of that? There is no crisis, the speaker says. Do you agree?
I totally disagree with him, Larry. One, we have to be faithful to what we are saying. One, there's basically a problem, and it is a political problem. Not just a problem, but political crisis. This political crisis stems from electoral issues, governance issues, and it demands that even if before Uhuru Kenyatta is inaugurated, or otherwise after the electoral petition, all the political players must come together and talk about this. If we postpone, as the way the speaker is alluding to, I think we are going to lose it. We have to acknowledge the fact that Kenya is at a crossroad, where we are at a political standstill. And if we postpone it, we are going to lose this country, Larry. That is my position. And political dialogue, we need to add a caveat there. Constructive political dialogue, where political actors will come and address issues faithfully, not serving their own personal interests, Larry.
Okay. Constructive political dialogue. Dr. Lukoya Twoli, so the NCCK suggested let's have a prime minister position and 2 deputy prime ministers, because if the position if the problem is the winner-take-all constitution, then let's have that. NASA has suggested a people's assembly in place until a legitimate presidency is in place. What do you view as a solution?
No, firstly, I want to disagree with the speaker for saying, I think he is speaking from both sides of the mouth. Because first he says we have no crisis,
yes,
and then he says, we are at a standstill and we have not done anything for the whole year. That is the definition of a crisis. So yes, we have a crisis. We have to unlock that crisis. The suggestion by the religious leaders that we create positions, in my view, that is not the way to solve the crisis. We need to get to the root of the crisis. The root of the problem is not that Raila is not prime minister. The root of the problem is not that there are no deputy prime ministers. The root of the problem is that we are a dishonest people, and that we go into elections expecting one thing, but then we do things the other way. Our IEBC is incompetent, we need to fix that, or they are dishonest and we need to fix that. But creating new positions and so on, I do not think, because once we create those new positions, we are going to go into a competition, and because of our dishonesty again, we are going to cheat, and we are going to end up with another political crisis. There is no legal solution to dishonesty and lack of integrity. The key is to fix the system so that we have people of integrity involved in the electoral process, both as arbiters and as participants, the politicians themselves. We tried with the Constitution. We put in a chapter on integrity. It has been trashed. That, in my view, is where we need to go back to, rather than just creating more and more positions for politicians, over which there will still be fights even after the next election.
You said the IEBC is incompetent. The chairman, when announcing the results of the presidential election, said he had issues with some basically changes he needed made, and he was satisfied by the time he stood there to conduct the election that would be credible. Do you agree with that? Chebukati basically changed his mind within 1 week.
So he changed his mind within a week. He did not give us the basis of the change of his mind. He did not give us the data, the information that informed the change of his mind. I think, the chair of the Electoral Commission has exhibited spectacular incompetence in the election, both on the 8th of August and even in the repeat election. Poor communication. They were not telling people what is happening, and this obviously creates conspiracy theories. They were doing things, some of them which are opposite of what they promised they would do. They said they would relay the results electronically. They did not. Then they said, you know, there would be, I don't know, 2 candidates and they'll have 0, 0, 0. Then we ended up with candidates with figures. I think IEBC has displayed a level of incompetence that, in my view, is dangerous. And if